Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy XIV. So it's been like 8 seconds since I started recording the last video. Basically, we have a few major cutscenes left and the final steps of faith, which is the finale of the Dragon Song War. I've seen a lot of groups struggle with this in the Duty Finder in particular. We shouldn't, because I'm a healer. I have a lot of control over how well or poorly that fight ends up going. Wow, it was immediate. I didn't think it was that immediate. And we're just here all of a sudden. Alright, so that's the entrance to the final steps of faith. I thought there was going to be, I don't know, maybe a teleport or something before we eventually got to this. But basically, it's the confrontation against Nidhogg, who we already beat earlier in the Airy. It's been a while since we've had to see him, but now we have just one more encounter against him. So the final, and yes, this song does actually play during the first part of the fight itself. So let's go into Trials, scroll all the way, Final Steps of Faith. Let's clear selections first. Join, and then same deal. We might need to cut away. Now this, unlike when I say, oh, you know, it's whatever because, you know, dungeons, I'm a healer, blah, blah, blah. Despite the fact that I am a healer, I don't know how long Nidhogg is actually going to take to get a Q for, but let's just talk about the fight for a little bit while we wait to see if it actually appears, and so you can enjoy the Dragon Song itself, because that's what you're listening to, is the Dragon Song. So the Final Steps of Faith, mechanically speaking, is not all that difficult. It's a lot of dragon breath attacks, dive bombs, unavoidable AoEs, stuff you've seen in dragon encounters in other games, and in this game before. Even looking back to the original Nidhogg encounter at the end of the Airy, there's a lot of repeated mechanics from there. Where people struggle in the Duty Finder is the 3 ads that spawn in between Phase 1 and Phase 3, and then properly healing and avoiding attacks in the final phase. Even in the second to last phase, people sometimes struggle a little bit with it, but it's not all too bad. It's just a lot of people overthink it because a lot of things look like they're happening all at once, when in reality, you really just kind of need to worry about what's in your immediate vicinity. So healers can really carry this encounter more so than the average encounter, where healers are kind of already carries as it is in the Duty Finder for just, you know, your job is to keep people alive, so if you put in the extra work, usually works. Here, more so than other encounters, especially for things like Akmorn, if you have one really good healer dealing with the Akmorn mechanic in the final phase, it can make your life a million times easier overall. We'll get to talk about that more in the encounter itself. I'm going to do my usual cut here and wait for the Q to actually pop, and then we will continue the video. So I'll see you then. Oh wow, that didn't even take as long as the last one did. Oh, and it was instant. I was the slowest one that time. Alright, so let's see how this ends up going. I think we'll probably steam through this. We'll steamroll through this and not really have much of a problem. We'll see. I'm confident though. I am going to definitely focus target Nidhogg. Alright, looks like we may have a couple of first-timers here. I mean, we've got a samurai. Actually, I was just going to say samurai doesn't have to be. So we have one. I see a mentor. I see a sprout. Me and the other white mage are like fighting over it. He's full I-270 scaled down, so I'm not worried about him. Alright, there we go. And then we both do it. Alright, so here is Nidhogg. Okay, never mind. Like most dragon-type mobs, he has, or like most bosses, I guess, in the game, he has a cleave. He has, that was the fire breath attack you just saw right there. And he's got a room-wide AoE. I mean, there's not really much more to say about that. Whenever he does that giant circle roar thing, you can see that he can summon AoE circles. Hot Wing means get away from his flanks, and Hot Tail, which I think he might do right after. No, he doesn't. He also has another attack where you have to get out from under him. So he has a multiple line AoEs, breath attack. It's all AoEs at this point. If you see a bad circle, move away from it. At this point in the game's life cycle, I think you know how that works. I think if you've watched enough of this series, you should know. If you see bad things, move away from them. So when he does that roar attack the second time, he does dive bombs, just move away. I would keep my eyes on the outside of the arena, just in case. Just kind of spin it around, although he only does one dive bomb and then he comes landing back down. Now, I don't remember when he phases into the ad phase, but it's got to be soonish on... Yeah, there it is. So of these 3 ads, groups tend to do this a lot of different ways. Have one tank pick up the Phallic, one tank pick up the Brobignac, and then focus them down however you will. A lot of people have different ways of doing this, especially in the Duty Finder itself. But keep in mind, ultimately, that in normal mode, there's no tank swaps here. In Extreme, there would be. Some people kill the Shadow Dragon first. It has no aggro table, and everyone that it hits with its very slow and predictable, and for some reason people still get hit by this claw attack, it gives people damage down, so they deal less damage throughout the fight, and that used to make getting to, past the Enrage here kind of tough. I've always been a bigger fan of killing the Phallic and the Brobignac first, because they actually deal damage that's unavoidable to the 2 tanks, so once they're dead, the Shadow Dragon just kind of falls over and it's laughable. But as you can see, they killed the Shadow Dragon first, then the Brobignac, then the Phallic. Doesn't really matter as long as they all die before Nidhogg gets into pissy boss mode. Now, there used to be a really funny rumor or proposed way of doing this mechanic coming up. Basically, he summons 8 circles before doing a super attack like that. No, you do not need a different person standing in each circle. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you kill all those dragons fast enough. That is the only thing that matters. Now, entering into Phase 3, he goes back to being... Well, now he's in an entirely new form, which is really cool. Again, it's just a lot of AoEs. Alamorn is a tank buster, so keep an eye on your tank during it. It only hits once despite having a triple hit animation. He does also have a standard cleave attack. This is just AoEs. Don't stand in the Skogels, and you don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, so he has Alamorn as one tank buster. He has another tank buster, that right there. That's also a cleave, if I'm not mistaken. So be careful. He does, yeah, I was just going to say, he likes to do them back to back. And he flies away. These circles, just spread them out. Doesn't really matter where. And I would save your sprint for this right here. So then he does a proximity AoE and a bunch of Skogels. You just have to move away from the proximity AoE while also dodging all the Skogels. A lot of times in the Duty Finder, people do die to that. It's not overly difficult, but it can be a little overwhelming for newer players to see all those AoEs and then just have to be like, well, you know, I didn't really know what to do there. I've seen it happen. It's totally acceptable for a first-timer to get hit by one of those, which is why I say the healers have a lot of power in this fight. Now he's doing Skogels plus AoEs. Somebody just ate one to the face, and I don't have an instant heal for them. It's fine. He's going to do another set right here, I believe. Yes, another Skogel and another bunch of AoEs. Not a big deal. He's going to phase into his final phase soon-ish. If you step in these circles, by the way, you do get a bleed. It is cleansable, but I do not have a Suna on me right now, so the other white mage can kind of deal with that. Oh, he didn't need the Benny, but I'll take it. And I think after a couple more of those, like, mini tank busters... Nope. There we go. Final phase. So he does a bunch of damage. I'm going to Medica 2 in the middle of the room. He does a dive bomb here. So watch out for all these AoE circles and then move out the way. He does a touchdown right here also, so does a lot of damage. Now here is where groups tend to start screwing it up. You got to stack up for that attack right there, and a lot of the times new players just don't do it, so I end up just moving over and taking care of it myself. Just remember that, just remember to make him face away from the group and to not stand in front of him. Looks like we have a very proactive tank here. So, these orbs explode in a cross pattern, so you basically just don't want to be near them. But there's also these right here, so you want to just identify 4 safe corners of the room, and then get ready to dodge out the way. With both of these Medica 2s, it makes things a lot easier. But I can see some people who are going to eat some damage here. Oh no, never mind. Everyone got out of it. Now normally I use Cure 3. Totally forgot where Cure 3 was on my hotbar. I was like, I'm looking at my hotbar right now and I'm like, huh, where did I put that again? It's not a big deal. As you can see, he's almost dead already. We had a pretty solid DPS from this group. Those Akmorns gradually... There's more and more of those Akmorns as you go further and further into the fight. So every time he Akh Morns, it basically starts hitting harder and harder and harder. Just make sure you stay stacked up. Get the Medica 2 running. Is this Cure 2, Cure Tetra? What did I do with Cure 3? What did I do with it? Oh, there it is. Staying stacked up Cure 3s as a white mage can be really, really strong there. Throwing down an Asylum, a Medica 2, and just heal through it. Like, just don't worry about anything else other than healing through it, because the Duty Finder can screw up those Akh Morns pretty bad. And it's a bunch of AoEs. You saw by being a healer who was avoiding the damage and then quickly responding to people who were getting hit by the AoE, I was able to keep people alive far longer. The main reason why there's so much onus on the healer there is technically it's up to other people not screwing up, but when people screw up, you have less people to split those Akh Morns. And the less people you have to split the Akh Morns, the later you get into the fight. This is true in Extreme also. The harder it becomes to heal through them. Eventually, you're just going to kind of be out of resources from trying to res people and spot heal people and DPS and whatever it is you're doing. So much so to the point where on Nidhogg Extreme, if I don't know if my party's going to properly dodge AoEs, I won't DPS in the final phase because I need to have all that MP for resing and for almost an expected solo heal of those Akh Morns right there. Especially once it gets to be like 6, 7 blasts coming out of the Akh Morn. It's rare nowadays that the fight ever gets to that point, but if it does, just be ready. Things like Sacred Soils or Shields coming out from Scholars or Nocturnal Astros or Divine Veils coming out of Paladins or Collective Unconscious from Astro. All those things, they help so much. Be sure to use them. Things like Reprisal and Addle also help as well, so don't be afraid to use the different tools that you got. We need to go to the last Vigil. We're almost done with 3.3. This video is actually not going to be super long. 3.3 was... I think total time might actually have been even less than 3.2. Despite the fact I had to wait a little bit longer for a Sorkai video. Or, sorry, for Sorkai. I think it's because the Grand Melee itself does take a pretty long time. The Grand Melee is a fairly long solo instance. I'd say it took a comparable amount of time. Because I think... I don't know how many more quests are left in the 3.3 story after the Nidhogg encounter. Because now I need to go to the Congregation of our Knights Most Heavenly. Which I think is the place right next to the Forgotten Knight? I think so. Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was. I like how I always try to warn you guys about stuff that can happen in the Duty Finder with fights, and then half of the time my encounters they're flawless, and it's not because of me that they're flawless. They just happen to be like not that bad. Alright, let me get this out of the way. Oh, so by the way, it just gave me a warning that this cutscene will be really long. Obviously, we're not watching it, but a lot of 3.3's length is in its cutscenes. The cutscene between Sorkai and the Final Steps of Faith is also like a 10-minute cutscene, or it's 10 minutes worth of cutscenes. Plus, immediately after beating Nidhogg is like another 10 minutes of cutscenes, and then that cutscene right there is like... There's a lot of cutscenes in this one. This is a very story-driven patch. So the fact that I'm skipping them all is why it's going so short. Unlike 3.2, where yes, there are a lot of cutscenes, but there aren't as many ridiculously long ones. Now, granted, if you're into the story of 14, and I am, but I've seen these cutscenes already, they are actually phenomenal cutscenes here in 3.3, and I do recommend sitting there and watching them, especially if you've been following the story up to this point. It is definitely a highlight of the Dragon Song War. That being said, that's why we got through this so quick, is because I am skipping those cutscenes because I don't need to watch them, and we don't watch them. We've never watched cutscenes on Let's Play Final Fantasy XIV, so why would I start now? Come on. Come on. I don't even... I think it was like a minion. I don't even remember. In the wake of Ishgard's government... Okay. And then here's just a few cutscenes afterwards to hype you up for 3.4 and 3.5. Thus did Grey Mist... I can't skip this. Give way to azure skies. Man and dragon rise above. Voices joined in song. And I couldn't even read it all. There you go. that's it. That was patch 3.3. So another really short video. I don't want to start 3.4 just yet. I want to kind of segregate 3.4. So 3.4 is what dungeon is 3.4 again? I did this in the last video too, and I could, or 2 videos ago, and I can't remember. It was Zelfatol. Zelfatol is going to be the dungeon we end up going to for the next video, and we'll probably do all of 3.4 in a single video, which should be a lot longer than these last 2 ones. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned because we are getting closer and closer to Stormblood. We're now only 2 major patches and a few, I guess, skippable cutscenes and a solo instance away from getting caught up to Stormblood and then talking about more recent relevant content. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, take care.